Hi guys, well, happy Thanksgiving. We celebrated that yesterday, and so after we got everything cleaned up, we figured we'd get out here and do some videos again. We have finally gotten down where we're not 115 degrees every day, and a couple weeks ago we had a bunch of rain and mud, and so this week's been very nice. So, in the meantime, we've had our videographer Michael has filled in and done a few videos, and so we're back on schedule where we can get these done. Anyway, we wanted to show you a little bit about the Ultimate Turkey Roaster and how we do our turkeys for Thanksgiving. Since about 2001 or 2, my wife has not done a turkey. She was one prior to that where she would take and get up late at night and put the turkey in the oven, and through the night we'd get up occasionally and baste it, and so when we came time to eat the next day at about noon, she was tired. So they came out, Camp Chef came out with the Ultimate Turkey Roaster, and so we started using that. And that first time I got it, she didn't quite trust me, and so she said, well, I'm going to do a turkey also. So because of that, she did hers, I did mine. I got up about 9:30 that morning and got it cleaned up, and went out and started setting my stuff up, came in and started preparing my turkey, and she's just looking at me like there is no way that that's going to be done in time. And I said, okay, we'll see. So it was advertised to be about 5 minutes per pound, and we found that to be pretty close to it. And so we both did our turkeys, and about 11:45, when everybody was going to start coming at noon, I went out and checked, and my temperature was about 162. And I said, hey, Barb, come take a look at this. And she come out, and she looked, and she's just shaking her head. And she goes, okay, we're just going to put both turkeys on the table, and we're not going to talk about how they were done or anything like that. And I'm like, okay. So pulled my turkey out and got it plated, got her turkey out of the oven, got it plated, and put both on the table and all the accessories. And everybody started coming in the door, and we sat down to eat Thanksgiving dinner. Gave our thanks, gave a blessing on the food, and everybody started digging in. Well, it didn't take long before people started making comments and going, man, this one is so moist, it's so good and flavorful. And she's just glaring at me across the table.
As wives usually do.
Yeah. So she, at that point, she broke the ice and kind of told everybody what we did, and we talked about them quite a bit. And then, of course, I still had the oven out back, and so kind of took and showed them what it was all about. And she has not done a turkey since. But I'll tell you what, it sure made a much nicer, peaceful environment on the Thanksgiving Day, because she gets her rest, and doesn't have to be up all night trying to get stuff ready. And we do the turkey outside, so it frees up the oven for other things for her to do. And this works out really quite well. And then we also do the bread outside in the Dutch ovens, and so again, another thing that helps there. Now in the background, we got my neighbor's got some landscapers out there cutting down some tree branches and whatnot, so you might have some noise in the background. So I did film a little bit yesterday quickly with my cell phone while we were making our bread and getting the turkeys ready at the same time, and had my grandson and his wife over here kind of helping us a little bit, so we'll piece those in and you'll get to see kind of what we did. But I wanted you to see the oven itself. There's actually 4 components to it. There's a heat diffuser plate. There's this thin piece of metal, and so when you put it down over your propane burner, it kind of, instead of having that direct heat right on the bottom of the oven, it diffuses it and makes a little bit more even heat. Doesn't tend to try to burn things on the bottom. And that's what that plate is right there. And then this is the top, and it's quite deep. And the only thing about it is it has a notch right here, and then an arrow right there on the edge of the lid. And so that's to show you where it needs to line up with the notch on the oven itself. That way you can take a few gnats flying around, but you can put a thermometer right through there and through that notch right into the breast of the turkey, and then that way you can see what's going on. And if you got one of those electronic ones, you can put the probe in there and have your monitor what's going on. And so put that off to the side for a little bit. Here's the oven itself. And as you can see, there's this hollow up through the center, and then it has that cone that comes up through the middle, and kind of like the same way you do beer can chicken, where you put the chicken or the turkey right over that, and it sets up right for you to cook. And there's the notch that we were talking about earlier. And then there's this grate that kind of goes in the bottom. It's got three little nipples that kind of give it a little space, and that way it keeps your meat up off the bottom of the oven, out of the juices and whatnot. And there's several things that I've done with this over the years. And one of those is I've taken and put some mesquite chunks that I've gotten them burning a little bit, and then I'll throw those in the bottom and then throw the plate over the top. And that way it allows that mesquite to kind of give it a smoky flavor to your meats and whatever you're cooking at. Now, this is called a UTR. Stands for Ultimate Turkey Roaster, made by Camp Chef. But the sad part is a lot of times they sat on the shelves in all the retailers, and nobody really pushed or promoted it to do other things other than a turkey. And so for the most part, people only eat turkey at Thanksgiving. So it was kind of like an annual deal where all of a sudden sales would pick up around Thanksgiving, but then they'd drop off for the rest of the year. Now, I'm here to tell you, it's not just turkeys that you can cook in this. You can put several hams. You can put 4 or 5 Cornish game hens down in there. There was a guy from Utah that he would put 4 Cornish game hens sitting up around the cone, and he says, those are my 4 poker ladies sitting around the table. Kind of a cool deal to call his recipe. But anyway, you put that down inside there, and that'll keep your meat up off the bottom. Now, a lot of times what I do, and I'll include the rub recipe in the comments down below that has the comments for it. So hit like and subscribe, and we'll be back later.
Snort some water.
So here's the Camp Chef Ultimate Turkey Roaster, and as you can see, it's got a hollow cone down through the center, a grate down the bottom to kind of act as a trivet to keep the meat up off the bottom. And we've taken and got our turkey all seasoned up with our rub that we put on it. And of course it's cleaned out. And you should have a hollow spot. You can see some light down through there. And now we're doing the injection using some Tony Chachere's, or turn it. Yeah, Tony Chachere's. And so Barb's having fun. She gets to shoot it up. And once that's done, then we'll put the big end right on top of that cone, and it'll set on top of there. And we'll take any other rub or liquid that we got and pour it down in the bottom so it stays hydrated. And then we'll put the lid on and get it on the propane. And that's in addition to us making our breads. So we're having fun. So here's what it looks like on the stove. It has a little notch in there where you line up the arrow on the top. And put the thermometer all the way into the breast of the turkey. And you can see how tall that lid is. So, and looks like we are at almost 155 or 60 degrees. So here shortly it'll be done. And at 5 minutes per pound, pretty cool the way it does it. There's our second one. And over here we got our Dutch ovens of bread getting ready to go on as soon as we get our charcoal ready.
I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and thanks for watching.